Hey everyone, for today's video, I'll be trying to make a guide for the new Celia Crest Shrine of Caliginosity that just dropped today. I had a few people asking in the previous video, I believe, so hopefully y'all will find it useful. Anyways, the stage is going to be split into 5 waves. For the very first 2 waves, you have a couple of random mobs that don't do anything really special, so don't worry about them too much. Just use them to get your team started and stacked if possible. After you defeat the first 2 waves, you'll move on to stage 3, which has Regulus, which is where the real fight begins. Regulus will have Reflection, Lifesteal, and Art Gauge, Drain, Resist. Additionally, the more you're able to break him, the more damage you're able to do to him, and after breaking, he gets break resistance up. This means you want to bring a breaker to get to break as quick as possible. Preferably, someone like Chloe, who's going to not only break quickly, but provide Archen to the team, is going to be a good unit. If you don't have Chloe, to be honest, I'd hold off on using a dedicated breaker since they're more likely to hold a team back. I'd just focus on adding more break equips to the team, such as Bakuzan, Ganon's True Weapon, Kaon, a Surplus Hunting Dagger, Scatter, and so on. Because I'd rather the team be functional and putting out a lot of damage with survivability, rather than having a breaker who's only going to be useful for Regulus, but then for the rest of the fight they're just going to be a dead slot. Anyways, when Regulus arts before his 50% threshold, make sure to watch out since it can do some damage, although it's not a ton. At 50% HP, Regulus will activate his iframes and then launch his True Art, as well as increase his damage. For this, you'll want to make sure that either your tank or shield refreshes the barrier since it'll do some damage. Make sure your defense equips are up as well since this can hit pretty hard. After that, every time his arts bar fills, he'll True Art instead of art until you finish him. Just make sure you're managing your shield and defense equips good and you'll finish Regulus. Moving on to wave 4. This wave has Fina as the boss, and like Regulus, she's going to have Reflection, Lifesteal, and Art Gauge, Drain, Resist. She also has Demon Killer, so watch out for that. She's a lot less tanky than Regulus, so it shouldn't be hard to go through her, but at 50% she'll activate her True Art, which cancels damage negation as well as increasing her damage. You'll want to watch out if you're using a taunt tank since they're generally the only ones on the team with damage resist, and this means that it'll hit the team pretty hard since if only the tank has damage resist, everyone else is going to be taking the full amount of damage. So be sure to have some sort of AoE defense equips active so that everyone can tank the attack. Once you roll through her though, you'll finally move on to the last stage, which has Celia, and like the past 2 waves, she has Reflection, Lifesteal, and Art Gauge, Drain, Resist. Up to 50%, she isn't too tanky since she doesn't have crit resist, so it's a bit easier to damage her and get her to her 50% threshold. She'll also periodically target the unit with the highest HP, feint them, drain their arts, and then slowly start chipping away at their life. Make sure you either have good healing or a strong shield since it won't go below 1 HP, but you still need to be wary regardless. When she arts first, she'll use Prophecy, which lowers your team's recovery rate, meaning that they're going to heal less. There's not much to do about this, just try and make sure your shield is up. Once you do get to the 50% HP threshold though, Celia will gain crit resistance as well as use her True Art Endless. Additionally, every time she arts, she gives herself a bit of damage resist, so you want to go as fast as possible, otherwise she'll take forever to complete. During the current and all future endless attacks, she'll have iframes, as well as increase her crit rate, which means it'll do heavily increased damage compared to her other attacks. Make sure you have a new barrier, as well as defense equips active to make sure it doesn't wipe your team out. Every time Celia arts after 50%, she'll activate endless instead of her normal arts that came before 50%, so watch out and be ready to have your equips active and barriers used. And from there, just be sure to watch out for the feints and endless attacks, and you'll eventually reach her 0% threshold. Upon reaching it though, she'll activate her final attack, Apocalypse. This attack does a ton more damage compared to her endless attacks, so for this one, you're going to want to have to potentially refresh the shield twice. What this means is that you refresh it at the start before the attack, and then during the attack you refresh your shield again. Be sure to have all your damage resist from equips and units as well, and if done correctly, her nuke should finish. You could of course use a unit with iframes or use Blessed Necklace to live through it, but for Blessed Necklace, I have found that even with it active, a unit can die even from one hit touching them after the revive grace period ends. But anyways, that's it. The mission's finally over, and hopefully you're able to get Crest Burst. It's definitely a lot of work for what's basically a cosmetic buff, but still, it's really refreshing to have content that's this hard. Although with how content like this is built, it's very difficult to try and use older units since a ton of damage and damage resist is needed. I believe there's around 45 million total damage that needs to be done, although I don't think that's the exact number. It's probably a little higher. So be sure to bring a relevant DPS or a more modern one. I haven't tried many other comps, although I'm sure someone like Saber can be worked into there. War God Fina is a great option, as I show in the video. Shiro actually does more damage than my War God Fina on this stage, so he works well as well. Let me know what DPS you want to use, and I'll try to see if it's possible to work into a comp. As for damage resist, Thetis is still a great option for this stage, although he'll need a lot of help with damage resist, so be sure to bring proper equips and supporters. I personally use Shiro heroes, since he's an insane supporter barrier-wise, and his art basically means you won't take damage from any attacks. Kirisame is a great option as well. Pretty much nothing is going through his shield, but if you do have any specific questions about the stage, don't hesitate to ask me since it is fairly difficult to try and make multiple comps. Let me know your thoughts about the Crest boss down below and whether or not you can do it, or if you maybe already got a Crest burst, which would be insane. If you did enjoy the guide, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. I hope this guide was at least a little bit helpful for your clears. In the future, I'll try to release a video for a full AI comp for people who might have the same equips or units as me so that it's a little less tedious to try and get a Crest. But anyways, thanks for watching and I'll see you later.